fighting using 1700 fighting techniques, but fighting with 1860s weapons. And the result was they were mowed down. I mean, they were fighting standing stock raving still, shooting at each other in a wide open, with rifles that could get 8 or 10 shots off, and with revolvers that could get 6 shots apiece. Hey, come on, get down in the trenches, get in the foxholes. They finally did at Petersburg. But by that time, the war cost more than 500,000 men on both sides, more than all of our other wars combined. All right. All right, if you see this word, now this one be careful with. This one a lot of you misunderstand.
Impeachment.
Yeah, impeach. Now, what does it mean?
It means to
It does not. What's that?
To remove the president.
That would cost you 2 points.
Yeah, it's not. You mentioned
It means you bring charges against a man in office, whether it be president or court justice or whomever. To impeach means you bring the charges. That's what will fool you, because what you just said is what most people think, and I tried to make it. Bill Clinton was impeached. He was not removed from office. Andrew Johnson was impeached. He was not removed from office. Richard Nixon was never impeached. He resigned before he would have been impeached. He would certainly have been impeached, but also he was certain to have been removed from office. He knew that once he released some of the tapes.
So when you add mint on the end, impeachment is the whole process of
The whole process,
charge.
the charge, yeah, that's impeach where you bring the charges. The House does the impeachment.
Right.
And then the Senate votes whether the charges are right or not.
And then that's the impeachment. Is that the whole process?
No, the word impeach merely means to bring the charges.
Okay.
It's not the whole process. It's just bring the charges, yes.
Why did Nixon resign?
What's that?
Why did Nixon resign?
Okay, when he was told finally that he didn't have the votes to see, as long as he had 34 votes in the Senate, he could stay in office. But he finally released a tape that showed very clearly that he was involved in the cover-up from day 3 after the break-in. That showed it clearly that he was involved in a cover-up. The issue is cover-up. It was not break. We don't know if, to this day, we don't know. We have no proof he knew about the break-in, that he did not order the break-ins or no. But he covered up. So he resigned because he was told he only had about 10 votes in the Senate at most. And that was not enough to save him. Maybe 15 votes in the Senate. 15 at most. And when the president told you, you only have 15 senators who are for you, he has to leave office. Donald Trump knows he has at least 34 senators on his side. He's not likely to be impeached. In fact, I recently heard the Speaker of the House has given up on trying to impeach him because she knows she doesn't have the votes in the Senate. Now the House might vote articles, but the Senate will not vote to turn him out, just like was in the case of Bill Clinton.
what was the case of the Watergate?
But in Nixon's case, he knew that he did not have the votes. Some names that you might see on the test, names like Red Cloud, Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse. If you see any of these names, if you'll just put down Indian Chief, that's all I care about. 3 names I never looked at just now, I know of. Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse.
Sitting Bull with the chief, right?
Yeah, they just put down Indian Chief, that's all you need to care about. Sitting Bull was killed doing a ghost dance, but
1800s.
these men led fights against the white man, and morally, yes, morally they were justified. I mean, hear this from a white man. The white man was not keeping his treaties. And anyway, but the other side of it, the fight was suicide. All right. Now, what would you put down? I mean, I don't think any of you are farmers, but if you see now that is not a girl's name, by the way. No. What is this?
Barbed wire, like.
Barbed wire. What's
Like
a,
calibers, yeah, fences.
yeah, it's a type of fence that has sharp points every so often, yes. Yeah. All right. Barbed wire. Barbed wire. All right. Oh, yeah. This one might fool some of you. No.
Little bighorn.
All right. What do you know about Little Bighorn? It's the plane. Well, I should already told you.
Battle of Little Bighorn.
A battle occurred there, and what's so famous about the battle? It's made the history books. Every history book I've seen, America mentions it.
Sitting Bull.
Well, Sitting Bull was not there. No, but another man was. Custer.
Yeah.
It's Custer's last stand. No, one of the few fights that the Indians won in this fight with the white man. One of the few. Little Bighorn. And the general who they defeated was one Armstrong Custer, who split his army into 3 pieces.
If he kept them together,
If he'd have kept them together, but see, also the Indians happened, by sheer chance, 2,000 or 3,000 of them happened to bump into each other and lump together, but they could not stay together. But Custer was fighting an army of Indians. I don't call them army, but Custer was fighting a mob of Indians that was much bigger than he was. And these Indians had guns, and they had horses. And of course, they had bows and arrows and tomahawks also. And Custer was simply overwhelmed. Little Bighorn. If he had kept his 3 armies together, they would have defeated the Indians for sure, but they didn't. And none of the men like Benteen and Reno did not feel like they could come and... There was an investigation that lasted months, but Benteen and Reno were exonerated because they knew they'd have had their armies annihilated too if they'd gone and helped Custer. But basically, all they could do was allow Custer to be destroyed. At least their own hides were saved. But if they had all 3 been together. But again, Benteen did not know that Reno had been ordered, and Reno did not order Benteen, and Benteen was not going to go in and help Custer because he knew he was outnumbered, and Reno was not going to help him either, so Custer perished. But he got the immortal fame that he'd always craved, fame that would last, but oh my, what it cost him. But he's been remembered from that day till this. All right. Who built much of America's cities and much of America's railroads in the 1880s and 1890s? What group of people? We call
Chinese
them
immigrants.
immigrants. Generally, a lot of them were immigrants.
People
Built a lot of... now, let's see. Oh yes, something I did mention. What was the Dawes Act?
wasn't that the act to allow like land for those like slaves or?
Actually, no, it was where the government gave the Indians acres of land, like 160 acres of land, and then had to tell them they could not sell this land for 25 years. It was designed, okay, folk, again, some of you might take offense because it brings up another issue. The government gave them the land. All right, fine and dandy. And it made the Indians more impoverished than ever. Well, folk, it's in the books. I mean, it's there. It's in black and white in your book. The government gave them the land. It did not help them. But it was
For
just...
how long?
Huh?
They couldn't
How
sell
long?
them.
They were supposed to keep it for 25 years. Yeah, because of what was happening, they found out that the Indians were getting this land and selling it for maybe a penny an acre or something for just a few bottles of whiskey. And they said, no, we can't allow this. So what they were trying to do was get the Indians to farm the land, raise cattle and raise horses and basically become like white people. It didn't work. The Indians did not know what to do with it. I mean, they did not have a concept of private property. And what do I do with this land now that I have it? I mean, you know, maybe I know what I could do with 125 acres of fertile land, but then again, I have farming in my ancestry, and I have a small farm, a small garden in my backyard, postage stamp size, where I grow a few things in the family because I enjoy doing it. grow tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, watermelons, grapes, blueberries, blackberries. I've tried raspberries, but somehow my land will not take raspberries. I don't know why. But anyway, small farmland. All right, anybody have any further questions? Okay. And again, I want to remind you, I'm not going to promise that some of the things I say won't be offensive, but I do feel like you need to hear some of the things I'm saying, even if it offends you. You need to hear it. Someday, maybe you'll be benefited from it. And when you get older, if I'm right, I mean, every teenager knows more than his or her parents. And in fact, every teenager is smarter than his or her parents. And they'll tell you so sometimes. I reared up 3 teenagers myself. But when they get older, they see things differently. I say, make a man president of the United States and all of a sudden he sees things differently. Chet Arthur was somewhat crooked until he got to be president, then he straightened up. Now, it doesn't happen to all of them. But Andrew Jackson was a Southern Democrat that got to be president, and all of a sudden he needed money. Same thing with Zachary Taylor. Got to be president, and all of a sudden he needed money to run the government. You see things differently, folk. All right, everybody have a good week, and I'll see you next week.
My notes? Oh, okay. So, this is not my usual notebook, so I don't even have I have
You want to take a picture of it?
I don't know.
So what chapter? I think mine is 2 chapters.
Yeah, me too, but I was on the, when we were in Homestead Act, something with the.
All right, I hope it works out. All right.
All I do is I sit down and do